one.
Hello, welcome to another live with me and not Chris. Chris has been replaced by this small crocheted frog in a PedalBox themed jumper. He has a mic on, but I don't think he's going to be particularly talkative if I'm brutally honest. And if you've seen the thumbnail that was up before, you'll know we've got actually some CAD parts that we have printed. They didn't work. I managed to screw up the STL file somehow, but nonetheless, we have something that was printed and it will work as a test piece, and that's what really matters. So we'll give it a little while, see if we were going to get many people coming into chat, and go from there. So we haven't got a huge amount done on the cars this week. The weather has basically been rain, followed by glorious sunshine, followed by rain, multiple times across a day, which is kind of poor, really. Oh, and apparently he's not crocheted, he's knitted. That yeah, this is pseudo Chris. I'll just put pseudo Chris up to the camera over here for a minute. Let me put the... Nope, that's not right. Ow.
Let me go.
I just keep breaking it, don't mind me. So that is our little frog. We actually took this over to America with us, and it's done a reasonable amount of travelling around, normally on the dashboard, everywhere that we went. Next time we go over, we're going to take a bunch of pictures with this, and this will be our little travelling mascot. So you'll see this on more PedalBox videos as we creep about the place. Ooh, and I've just managed to lose all of the chat. Let's try not to ruin this. So, yeah, so that is pseudo Chris for this week, even labelled up with a mic pack. We will have another live stream. I've just thrown the frog on the floor. We'll have another live stream hopefully in a few weeks when Chris will be back as well. So we'll be doing more work on the cars then too. You will have seen the episode that went up yesterday. Hopefully you will have anyway. That was my ring going off. There we go. That's better. So we've got a lot more work on the Thunderbird to do now that we've got those panels all sorted. That rust was particularly nasty, as we've shown you before, some of the horrendous panels that we took off it and all the metal behind it. We are now able, or we're now in a position that we can actually start going back through more of it, cleaning up the paint that's there so that we can start getting it ready for actual paint, which is hopefully going to happen before July. Because in July, I'd like to be able to drive it round to the car show, which isn't that far from us. And we've taken it there the last two times that we've been to the Berkshire County car show. Let me just find the site for it. It is the Berkshire Motor Show. That's the one. I'll just put this up on here. There we go. And yeah. So yeah, it's a really good show. It's massive. It's in Prospect Park, in sort of, well, not quite the middle of Reading, but it's inside Reading. Easiest way to get to it is Junction 11 or Junction 12 of the M4 if you're planning on coming down. And basically the what we normally do is we normally take the kit car down with us, the Thunderbird, and something else. We tried to take the Golf down. The Golf has no engine, so the Golf did not make it down last time. Maybe the Golf will have an engine for the next one. I don't know, but parts for that are slowly coming together still. But I also still haven't stripped the old crank out of the old block, or the current block, but the old crank. So you need the rods and the crank out from that, and then we can start rebuilding it with all of the new parts. And I'm just kind of being distracted by thousands of other things. And it's one of those awkward ones where you're snowed under by 1,000 possibilities and you don't know which one to choose, because even when it's raining, I could do that on the Golf. I could also just tidy the garage, because the garage is historically a bit of a tip. I could take the TT lower control arms that we've got from the front, the cast ones, and I could make a jig up from them, because we need to adjust the we need to adjust the ones we have on the car now. Because they put the wheel a little bit too far forward. Basically, when I built the radiator support, I just drew a straight line right across the front of the car and extended that out with some inner wheel arches that go on it. And as it turns out, when you put the car on full lock, the wheels actually touch the inside of that aluminium, and it might not be enough that we can get away with just hammering it and pushing it forward. That's step number one, is just try and shape that so there's a little bit more clearance, so as the wheel comes around it will do it, but then we need to check across the full range of travel in the suspension. So there are a few things that we need to try and make work around that area, but I'm hoping that we don't have to make a whole new set of lower control arms, but we might, and I could easily be trying to get some of that ready, but there's so much other stuff. I still have videos from last year that I need to edit from when we went to the States. I need to get those out. There are various bits on the model railway that need editing, and I'm probably going to end up putting that into a separate channel just for the YouTube analytics to try and do its thing better, because when it's trying to target one group of videos and themes with an algorithm, and you have a very wide disparate section of them, really, cross-section of video types. So we've got cars, and we've also got trains and travel and various things. It's a very wide gambit, and it ends up harming. There was one of the other channels that I followed, which is called Way Out West Blog, and they did exactly the same. They have a small holding on the west coast of Ireland, and they pulled all of their workshop videos. So he's been building machines. He's got I think it's a 12-inch or a 15-inch gauge garden railway that he's built up. I think it's 12, with various trucks on it, so that he can move stuff around on his small holding. And it's grown a lot more and a lot faster now that he's moved all of the workshop stuff. He's got a single cylinder engine, which he runs to use a massive homemade flywheel that weighs, I think, about half a ton. To run a bunch of machines. So he's got a slicing machine for making charcoal and all sorts of stuff. And basically he's got, he moved all of the small holding onto one channel and all of the workshop stuff onto another channel, and it did a lot better for them. And I've been kind of looking at it for the last few months going, I should really move all of the car related stuff, or keep all of the car related stuff on the main channel. And because it's a lot easier to do it right now, move all of the model railway stuff onto another channel, and then actually start catching up with some of the shows that we've been to and putting the videos out for that. So yeah, that's kind of where the channel is up to at that point with the model railway. I know Ouch was asking on one of the videos what was happening with it, and that is where it's up to. It is still going. It's wiring. I hate wiring, and there is a huge amount of it to do, and whatever you do when you're videoing, it will take you probably 4 times longer than if you were doing it without having to video it or really plan anything around it like that. It's just a nightmare. It takes so much longer when you're videoing, as I'm sure anybody else running a channel, and I'm sure a lot of you can attest to, whenever you're trying to work something out. So we really need to, well, I need to get past all of this, or a lot of this wiring, to try and fix it so that I can actually make a decent bit of progress, and it's not just me looking at a soldering iron and swearing profusely, because then the whole channel will fail. So that's not great. But yeah, let's just see who we've got in chat. We've got a few people in. So that's the show that we're hoping, well, we will be taking the kit car to, hoping to drive the Thunderbird to, and maybe get the Golf too. You never know, possibly, not sure. It depends on an awful lot getting that sorted, but I really want to try at some point soon. So we've got a few people in. Normally I would get Chris to do all of my CAD work, and there's a few bits that I've been trying to build and trying to make up, and ultimately I need to learn how to CAD properly without using SketchUp. So I finally caved and I started testing in FreeCAD, because we've got a lovely proper system, a proper editing package. I say proper, FreeCAD is a proper editing package, but one of my friends has gifted me a license to ANSYS and all of their modeling software, which is extremely nice, and I definitely want to use it. But as with so many things, when it's an extremely complicated program, you can very easily get extremely overwhelmed by something. So I'm trying to get the basics down. Having got the very, very basics down in SketchUp, I'm now trying to get just a little bit better and start using FreeCAD instead. So that is the plan, and with that in mind I started trying to make up some of the dash mounts that we need, because we have to connect this unit. This is the center console, this is the center dashboard vent unit from an E46 BMW. I mean, it also goes in the E39, the E46, and I think it goes in one of the others as well. It does have another part number on it somewhere with another prefix, and I now can't see. Oh no, it just has 4 E46 part numbers, of course, and 2 E39s, which I'm guessing will be coupe, convertible, saloon, estate for the E46, and what would the E39 be? E39 one, I suppose, would be saloon and M5. No, sorry, it'll be saloon and estate. Of course it will, idiot. So this is what we need, what we have in our center console, in our dash, in front of the gear stick, and we need to connect from. I have forgotten to pick up the 50mm pipe. That is unfortunate. I think that is still in the garage. Don't suppose you could try and grab me. It's about 2 meters long and it's about this in diameter. Okay. If you can try and find it, please. Because I need to test the fit on both ends of this adapter that we've printed. However, as I say, the print was a little bit of a failure. And yeah, as Mintopia says, the STL file does not look like what is currently on my screen. So I took a bunch of measurements, and somewhere down here, this is where we find out how I managed to get this one wrong. Because, yeah, that would do it. Yeah, so the basic problem, this is 100mm wide, or actually it's a little bit over, it's 102mm at its widest point, and 51mm at its tallest point, and that is not what I built it to. I built it to 102mm wide and 50mm high, which is why this part behind me, oh dear, I've lost it. Nope, it's here. That's why this part is not going to work. It's also a little bit confusing why it doesn't have a hole through the center. As you can see, the file very definitely does have a space that goes all the way from one end to the other. And yet this is weirdly, well, I can measure it actually. This is, when I unloosen this, okay. So that is the required 15mm deep at that end, and that should be 15mm at that end, and it is. And this is the better part of 44mm across the whole kind of section. So this has added an extra 30mm. Now, that is interesting that this is 30mm too big, too thick across that dimension. Because at one point my plan was to have this 30mm from point to point. Now, as it happens, these need to be on an angle. These need to be at something like it's a 50, no, see, it's not a 55-degree angle. That's the angle of the dashboard for the other vent. This needs to be on something like a 12-degree angle, because whilst it's sat in the car, this doesn't actually sit completely flat. It sits up at an angle, so these eject outwards. And if you have a long adapter on, there we go, there is the big length of hose. So if we have the adapter, just sitting directly onto the back of here, it comes up, but the dashboard curves around too quickly, and if we have an adapter this big sitting on the back, obviously be a little bit further in, but if we have it that far, the hose outlet on this end actually sticks through the top of the dash. I know it's not that easy to visualize. I was hoping that this would have worked properly. So what I intended on doing, and what I actually did mark out on these drawings, because I did actual work for this. I did proper engineering, let's call it engineering style drawings, shall we? To try and get this correct. Now, hopefully, that will be visible on the top-down cam. Let's just put that there. Might work, it might not. Actually, I can put it like that, and hopefully it will. Nope, because it's just going to slide off. Never mind. Let's try again. Right, so hopefully that is visible on our vertical camera at the moment. And basically, the plan was to have this sat at a 12-degree angle, and then the round outlet would be horizontal, so it would be level with the dashboard in the car. And then this pipe will fit on the end. Whether or not it will is a different matter. It actually does. I'm quite pleased, although the fact that the spiral doesn't fit on the end means that it's a little bit trickier to make this work properly.
You forgot to turn the top down, light on it.
I did.
Well, no, as in like physically turn it on.
Yes, I know. I've managed to put one of my lights on and not the other one, and now it's impossible to get to because I would have to get to it. So yes, so this sits on there, and basically the plan was for the hose section to be completely level instead of being like that, because this would have pushed through the top of the dashboard, which is about there. So that was the first plan, as you can see on this sheet down here. I'll hold it up to this camera. So this is the outlet for the hose to come onto, and this is the one that fits onto the back of this unit down in front of me. So that's what corrects the angle and brings this horizontal. So I tried that, and then I realized that I'm definitely not very good at CAD, and lofting between two separate 3D bodies, in FreeCAD at least, it won't let me make two different units and then loft between them, and I don't know how to get around that. So I decided, as a test, based on what we needed, which was to test this fitment onto the back of this unit and to test this fitment onto here, I would print one and we will see if it works. And as you can very much tell, that did not work. So that is very much not what we were aiming for. Obviously, it's not a finished print by any stretch, even in this design, because it also hasn't printed the. That's a good point. It hasn't printed the sides. It hasn't printed the filleted corners either. It's done a completely square unit, which is really weird. Now, hopefully, that with some acrobatic climbing, that should make this a little bit more illuminated for top-down cam. And yes, Vix, Frog does have a microphone on. If I could get him to balance there, I would. I wonder if I do that.
Is that sound activated?
No, it's remote control activated from the Bluetooth app. So the lights that I have a Bluetooth control on them, so you can change the color. But they have various pre-programmed modes, and one of them is, is American police car, effectively. Whoop whoop, sound of the police. It's for the crimes that we committed. The police are coming. The crimes that we committed, putting the foam onto the top of the car. That is the problem. So yeah, that definitely didn't come out as it should have, which I have many questions. I wonder if I can. I'll just put that on. I'm just going to try and download Cura, because Cura, as I understand, should show me what it thinks is there. I'm looking to my producer, who is. Cura will show me what it thinks there is there, won't it?
Yeah,
when it tries to do the slicer.
Yes,
yeah.
And it trying to print.
Oh, ultimately, right. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Yes, download. Now you're going to watch me download things rather than do CAD, which is much, much less interesting than anything else. No, I only sent one file. I downloaded one copy. In fact, no, I didn't even download it because it's not cloud on FreeCAD. It saved to the PC, it did the thing, and I sent it directly to Mint, and then Mint printed it, and this is what I got. And that's definitely not a critique on, on Mint's printing, because the quality is really nice. The dimensions are really good. They are exactly what I requested it to be printed for the inside diameter here and the outside here. Like, conceptually, as a test piece for what I needed to test, this is flawless. Practically, this is useless. And the big problem that I have is that whilst I got 102mm inside across there absolutely perfectly, so that fits on really nicely there, it does not at all fit vertically, because, and I haven't verified this, and I know I should probably put batteries in this caliper, thank you, but I haven't for quite some time. Interesting, it actually printed at 49, not 50.
Maybe my printer.
But the other, you say it might be your printer, but the other dimension printed at 100 it printed at 101, which, okay, so that's a millimeter under in each dimension, but that fits on one side, but not the other. Mind, this is much, much thinner at this end. Oh yeah, so it's probably about a 0.5 millimeter tolerance on this, which it will take up in flex by pushing in. And actually, I need to give a lot more room than that, because, as you can see on here, there is this mass of foam. And if I try to measure this for the camera on my side, come on, get on there. That is about 102. If I had batteries in, you'd be able to see on the display that it says that. But the foam itself is... The foam on the outside is at least another 4 millimeters, and my tolerance was apparently too good, so I need to make this whole thing bigger. So we're going to do that first before we get onto any of the other bits of CAD to try and fix. Yeah, I mean, if I just asked Chris to do this, I'm sure it would have been fine. But then again, he would have worked off my measurements. My measurements were wrong, so it would have been absolutely perfectly wrong. So let's just install Cura. Now this is going to be interesting for two reasons, not least because the number of times I've used Cura is once, and that probably you can count the amount of time I've spent using it in seconds. But I also then have to edit the sketches for that piece. And I haven't really done that. I am not a particularly good 3D modeler, so this is going to be interesting. Now, as I understand it, I should just be able to change things and it will do the stuff. That basically is how this should go down, as I understand it. So that is the external dimensions at the moment. Hi, Loki. Bye, Loki. So yeah, so let's, yeah. I probably will, Sparky. Just hand it off and go, can you just check whether or not I suck? Because at the moment, it definitely does appear that, yeah, PebCac. Yeah, in fact, problem exists between various chairs and various chairs and various keyboards. So, I need to expand this 54. So if I make that, what? Thank you. If I make that 56 mil and 56 mil, it's going to get angry at me, isn't it? And the distance there, so I added 4 mil, so that needs to be 28. Maybe that's too much. Maybe it doesn't need 4 mil of clearance. Okay, let's go with 55. And no, let's you see, this is the problem. This is why we don't make videos of just me looking at things and wondering how they're going to work, because it would be extremely boring for everybody. Every single person just looking at me, umming and ahhing about whether I'm going to do something or not. Expand the ring, indeed. So this is the outer diameter, which has a 16mm radius. Now, the outer radius on this section is approximately 13mm. It's not technically, it's a non-linear radius, which I don't think that's the right word. Chris would correct me. But basically it starts off on a 13mm radius as it goes round, and then it goes out wider and comes out further. So the center point of the radius from this section here, I'll show you, from basically this little indent, starts out at about 17mm, and then it comes around, and from the top it's about 13mm. So yeah, I couldn't be bothered to model that. That was far too hard, so I didn't. So I went with a constant 13mm radius, and the rest of it will just deal with it, and the foam will take up the rest. So given we have 4mm of foam on each side, if I've expanded it by 2mm each side, that foam just should sort of settle right into it and work, he says, hopefully, because it blatantly won't. Vertically, I know now that I need more than what I originally measured, which was 50. Actually, need to check, did I write down 50? Yeah, I did. I absolutely wrote down 50. Which, given the outer dimension is 102, and this is Germany, it would probably be multiples of something. So 51 would have been a much more sensible thing to choose if I was arbitrarily going to guess at anything. So yeah, this needs to be 51, and yeah, basically there is enough flex that when I go, oh, I wonder where this touches, I can squeeze it. I can actually squeeze it down to about 47. So the 50 is definitely an error on my part when measuring. So this is, yeah, so if that's 51 and I want 2mm of clearance, do I want 2mm of clearance? That is a good question. 30, 60, that will give me 2mm of clearance and 3mm, 8mm. So yeah, that's probably a little bit much. So I actually want that to be 28, and I'm having to do maths live, this is awful. Actually, I can just check, can't I? Because I can try and find that point and then see how angry this gets. 31mm, yes. So that definitely didn't work, because that's 59. Okay, I've done something wrong here. Chris, help me. If I put that to 25. And then, what is this measurement off here? That's now 29. So I make that 29. That's not what I wanted. 20. I want to go up one, I think. I realise I'm sat here just stabbing numbers into something and guessing when I could measure. Right, so 29 and 29. So that is 58 with a 3mm wall. He says he's not actually being sure how big of the wall he printed or designed. 2.5 maybe. Yep, because I think, yeah, this reads slightly under. Yes, he does. He knows what he's talking about. He's quiet, and therefore he gets more things right than I do. So that's 112 wide. That's 10mm. Okay, so that's now far too big, because this does not want to be 100. So this was printed as 108. If we assume that was 1mm off, and it probably should have been 109, that's fine. But we need 102, 104, 106. 112. No, it is. That is exactly what it needs to be. It needs to be 112. So that's fine. And then 58, it's going to be 51, 2 mil of foam gap. So that's 55. And then 3 mil to the top. So no, that does actually want to be at least 1 mil bigger in both axes. And if I do that as 28, and then I'm guessing I should be able to measure this to here, 30 mil. Right, so aside from the fact that it's getting really, really angry and has all of those errors at the bottom that it's not happy about, I should be able to update this, close that, and then look at the pocket size. And the pocket size, so yeah, that wants to be 26 millimeters to there. And this wants to be 52. No, it doesn't, because it wants to be 54. So that should be 27 mil, and then that should be 54 mil. You might think that I'm sat here telling you all of these things and I'm just articulating for your benefit about what I'm doing, but this is pretty much how I sit in front of the computer and talk to myself at the best of times. So we make that 78, which give... Why? Oh, that's why.
It's fairly complicated.
106 mil. Why? Okay. Let's... Okay, that worked. If we make 78 mil there, if I can just go 80 mil there, then I should be able to measure this as 106 mil, which is correct. So aside from the fact that I don't think it's actually central right now, and I can't work out how to check that. Yes, I can. Yep, you're right. 53 and a third. No, it should be 53. Cool. Okay. So that should be fractionally bigger, and I don't need to do anything with the hole on the other side because that's already correct. Oh, no, okay, now that's interesting. What is that part of? Why is that there? Oh no. Yes? Okay. What? Why won't you move? Screw it. Spin it this way. And then give me that. So that is hopefully what we're actually going to end up with. And yeah, it hasn't chamfered the edge over. Right. I'm going to drop off that off there for a second. Finish installing Cura and open Discord and have a look. I'm going to download the file that I sent, because now I'm doubting myself in so many different ways about the file that I actually sent being correct, because this shouldn't be. But while this is happening, there was a really... I'm going to try and look at a little bit of the news in the world of cars that happened this week. And there were two things. One was this amazing... Okay, that's not helpful. Amazing Renault 5 Turbo that came up on Bring a Trailer that is currently $62,000. No, go away, Bring a Trailer. Yeah, just wow. That thing is so clean, so good looking. It is unreal. So yeah, from the FIA Group 4 Racing, just what an... What an absolute lunatic machine. 160 horsepower, but it probably weighs less than the shadow of a fart. Just amazing. And there's loads and loads of pictures of it. But that reminded me of something else that I saw a couple of, well, not even a couple of weeks, a couple of days back, because when this actually loads up, Alpine, who obviously do the A110, let's find a picture of that. Yes, Cura, you can in fact do what you want. Yes, so Alpine do the A110, which is a superb looking car, and builds off obviously the legacy of the Alpines of old. But it turns out Alpine is not going to be a one car manufacturer, because some lunatic is making an Alpine EV Renault 5. What amounts to the Renault 5 Turbo. Alpine are now doing the A290, which, if I'm honest, I really quite like. It's definitely not a Renault 5. It's in the same vein as it. It's a very small car with a lot of power, and it's going to be silly. But, yes, sorry, it is Alpine, isn't it? It's not Alpine. Alpine make stereos, Alpine make cars. But yeah, this, I really like it. I will admit, those rims are not that great. The weird kind of 4-spoke, 8-spoke, but really neither. Not sure about that. It could definitely do with some better wheels. But the rest of it, if you ignore like this area here and this area at the back and just concentrate on the rest of the body, wheels are easy to change compared to bodywork. Ask me how I know. Yeah, I really, really quite like that. But then for tiny little EVs, the other one I really like is the little Honda, the one that looks like the old like 1977, 78 Civic. Again, really, really nice little car. Love the fact it's still compact form factor. It's doing the, I'm going to remake a small car with some nostalgia, the way Fiat did with the 500, and the way Mini didn't, because they made it fat. The 500 is still a comparatively small car, and sure, it doesn't weigh 500 kilos anymore, because, let's be real, how could you possibly do that with all of the safety structure and everything else? But this actually works like some tiny little manic hot hatch. So yeah, really, really like that. Definitely would have. So, let's have a look at what Cura actually says. It's going to... No, go away. I don't want to make an account. I said skip. No, I don't want to add a printer. How do I...
Just add an ender free. Just add a non-network printer. No, it's non-network. Non-network.
Yeah, got it.
And just select an ender free. So Creality.
Oh, it's Creality, isn't it? There. Creality...
Ender free.
Ender 3, that one. Yeah, version 1, version 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Skip.
Yeah. Fine.
Oh, you're done anyway.
Sure. Right, so
Just drag it in.
I should be able to find... So it was centre air vent, wasn't it? Oh.
You'll need to drag it
I probably also need the STL.
Yeah. You'll need to save it somewhere first.
Yeah. Yes, put that there. I'm sure this is as thrilling for you as it is for everybody else. Okay, so you definitely printed exactly what I sent you. But that's not what I wanted, what I meant to get you to print, which is the only downside here. Huh. Okay. That's... Yes, I think the Honda E is the one that I'm thinking about, Ronald. Okay. Let's try and save this center air vent V2 in there. That's actually not what I wanted. I wanted to export it. Oh, I see. This is why I don't know what I'm doing. This is among the reasons that I don't know what I'm doing. Right. So this is what it did last time as well. That's not necessarily saying that it's what it should have done or what I asked it to do. Well, no, it probably is exactly what I asked it to do. Right. Okay, so you all saw that. It's pulled exactly the same file out again. But I don't know how. This is why I hate CAD. I've quite clearly asked it to do something very, very simple, and it's just going, no, we're not going to do that. How? Okay, that's not what I wanted. I don't want the origin. Okay, what's wrong with the pocket? No, fully constrained. I'm going to believe that that's fine. The vent adapter is... Yes. Okay. No. Okay, so, things we've learned today. I definitely cannot still CAD. Let's try one of the other ones. Because this is not the only one. Let's lose that.
It says, look at the bottom, it says recompute failed.
It does. I mean, it's said that a lot. The downside is I don't know what that means, which I accept is a significant amount of my problem. But why? Okay, where do I find the reports? Please check report view. No, that's just view. View. No, apparently not. Tools, perhaps? No. No, I have no idea. So I'm going to ignore this problem for the time being. I do want to save that. And I'm going to try and open the other one in Cura and see what it does. So this was... nope, that's not the one. The air filter bracket. Nope, that's the one that definitely works because Chris did it correctly. Center event, dashboard outline, center floor. Maybe you didn't do... Okay, 1 second. Whilst I try the other one. I mean, I'd laugh if one of these works perfectly and it just happens to be that... Yeah, the other one seems absolutely fine. Of the two you could have possibly chosen to print, that one is the broken one and the other one may or may not be. So yes, I have no idea what is wrong with that center air vent adapter, other than the fact that I know for a fact now it definitely does fit onto the hose, which is nice. I like the fact that I managed to measure a circle and then describe a circle correctly. That is a small win, even if I can't measure the size of an air vent properly, although I can in one axis. It's just height that is apparently beating me. I could also look to see if the radius will work, but I think it will. So I choose to believe that it will, and we'll just move on from there. That can go away, Cura can go away, because that is evidently a failure. So yes, the Renault 5, that little electric Renault 5 thing, I really, really quite like the look of that. That is some top quality hilarity. But that is not the only thing that I saw on the net this week.
I was browsing the internet and came across it.
Yes, yeah. Let me find a reference picture first, because that is of critical importance that you all know. Yeah. So this car exists, and there's
no good reason for it too.
Yeah. So the PT Cruiser is certainly a choice when it comes to vehicles, but somebody is fixing them, and by that I mean they're fixing the styling of them. There is a company in Spain that will coach build you a custom body onto a PT Cruiser, and as Em says, why is a valid question, because you go from this to this. And you can see all of the elements of the PT Cruiser in there. This little window, but the door handle has mysteriously moved up by a few inches to deal with this massive bulbous rear arch that's been grafted on. And then it's got side skirts that have been grafted into it as well. And yeah, like that door handle has had to move. I hadn't actually noticed until just now that door handle had actually moved. And no, Ronald, I don't believe that it's any better either. I think it's, yeah, the fact that door handle has shifted is jarring, I think, is the best way to describe it.
OCD says.
But you're like, I'm not saying that the PT Cruiser was a glorious piece of Italian design, but at least the door handles line up with the body line that's cut into the doors. Like and even that line runs all the way to the front of the car, wraps around. Like, I can see where a designer was going when making bits of this. Please don't knock that over, Binks. Yeah, you. Yeah. Too late. It's gone away. Have you? Is it? There's a tail. So yeah. Now that's the back end. Do you want to see the front? Because damn, it's. Your interface is bad, and you should feel bad. Can I just open it? There we go. It's not, I mean, it's not a great quality resolution image, if I'm brutally honest. But, yeah, I mean, that against...
It's like Robin grew older and had a drug addiction, and this is what it did to him.
I don't even think drugs could do this. But, like, there is so much that they've had to do to that car. I'm pretty sure the wheelbase has been extended as well in order to get the lines right. And by the same time, it's hurt on my eyes. Sure, yes, Aid. I will be the first one to admit that I am not a good designer. I will be at the head of that queue. But I also wouldn't have created this. And I don't know if that's a damning indictment of me or them. It has some nice, in inverted commas, little areas. The lights actually look quite nicely put together. They work, they fit with the theme. But when they work visually. But yeah, you put it into that. And again, if you hide everything from the rear wiper, because it still has the rear wiper on, if you hide everything from there up and you just take kind of the rear arch, that bodyline area, that works. That's nicely designed, but it doesn't flow and it doesn't blend into the rest of the car. And yeah, the front is really quite the thing. and they were saying, yeah, it's $40,000 to have that done to your PT Cruiser. Yeah, so yeah, 40 grand, Ronald, and they sort of did change the interior. That said, I can't actually remember what an interior of one of these looks like. Please hold. I will go back and look. That's not helpful. Do you have a picture on there? No, you don't. Chrysler PT Cruiser. Interior. So that is what the interior looks like. Oh, I have to license that picture apparently if I want it any bigger, which you might be surprised to learn I'm not going to do. That. Open link, new tab. I mean, that is the only picture of the interior that they've actually put up anywhere. But this, so this is the PT Cruiser interior is not what I would call inspiring. It's very much parts bin, dials and nodules in a sea of plastic, which it's not especially great. But yeah, so that's 40 grand on top of buying the PT Cruiser, as far as I understand, which I'll just, let's have a, according to most one article, the author starts, it's called the Author, just extra confusion, starts at 40 grand. So yeah, $40,000 for $40,000 for a coach-built car is extremely good value. $40,000 for a PT Cruiser-based coach-built car could also be really good value, but not if it looks like that. I could even forgive it from the back if the door handle wasn't just lifted an extra 3 inches completely out of line with the other one. If they'd put it literally anywhere else, on the roof would have been better because you wouldn't have been able to see how hideous it was. But yeah, just, it's maddening that that thing exists. And I don't know. There was another one which I kind of enjoyed this. So this, hang on, because I'm going to have to read some of this out, so I just need to change my settings briefly so I can extend this to make best use of this bit. And I'm guessing that's probably changed the oh no,
Doesn't matter.
it is still working. Right. Yeah. Will you? Thank you. Right. So yeah. Apparently I missed. So this was on Carbuzz. This is the craziest Japanese concept ever made. And this is called the Elysia, which was apparently made by a team at the Keio University in Tokyo, and it's mad. It's 8-wheel drive, 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, has 640 horsepower because every wheel has an 80 horsepower motor on it. And it will do 230 miles an hour. It's absolutely insane. And it looks quite small in that picture, but I think it looks that small because the windscreen is so enormous. There are houses in Japan smaller than that windscreen. Because when you actually see it next to people, it's actually not that small of a vehicle. That's a comfortable 4-seater, but yeah, then it just has 8 wheels, 4 of them steering, 8 motors. You're like, sure, yeah, absolutely. That is, yeah, basically that, Sparky. Yeah, now, so if you want something that reminds you of a nostalgic cartoon, you want, no, you don't want to save the image, that's wrong. You want this. Name what show does that car remind you of in the comments? Because I know exactly what my first mental image went to. There was only one car. Not, I will admit, not the RV camper part of it where it kind of opens out. Not that. Just ignore that part and just look at the main kind of design of it closed up when it's driving along. Because I only had one thought spring to my mind, and that was, when I find it, well, what cartoon, first of all? Let's see if anybody's actually said it in chat so far. No, they haven't as yet. Oh, apparently it's way behind on the chat that I'm looking at there. That's a little frustrating. This is going to take me a minute. I'm just going to have to re-log in elsewhere. So yes, I mean it is quite the hearse. You're not wrong, but no. My first thought on that was, if I could spell it. Come on, load, damn you! Why? Why wouldn't you just give me the image I want? Oh, and admittedly, the comparative image that I have here is actually kind of more accurate. There we go. The Gadgetmobile from Inspector Gadget, because the Gadgetmobile can transform into a wagon and into a convertible, and it can move around, and it can change its design. But specifically, in fact, there is a picture of it mid-transformation. So yeah, it does do that. But the Gadgetmobile in particular... Oh, hang on. I've actually just found the image that I need. I saw... Where is it? Let's see. Because I did also have this open somewhere slightly more useful, and now I don't. Why won't you just click? Have you ever heard of the Nissan NX or the Exa? Because that also looks an awful lot like that. I want to say not well. It's not a Pulsar because it's a concept, but moreover than that, and I'm just going to bin off all of these other windows because well, I lost my mouse and this is hard. There we go. Yeah. When you see it, you will understand, because the Pulsar NX had some weird, funky abilities. You could remove the back of the car, you could remove the whole tailgate and put a new section on top of it. So it could go from a coupe to a hatchback or a convertible. And that is utterly weird. When I find the other picture... Nope, that is that one. I want... that one, which is going to be the same one again because I screwed it up. That one. There we go. So that was the other options that you could put on. Instead of having that square back, you could make it either a coupe, a Targa, or an open top, or then put that hatchback unit on. And I'm just going to find, because there is a picture, there are various pictures of it with the boot lid kind of open, which was really, really weird. It was proper funky. And I would love one. But they'd never released them in the UK. They were very much the Japanese market only. As far as I'm aware. I mean, a lot of them went into the US. I assume some of them may have been sold there new as well, judging by some of it. Oh, there was definitely a picture I found earlier where the boot was open. And it looked really weird because the whole back end, that whole clamshell kind of opens up as one. Is it in this article maybe? No. Oh, I can't find it. That's going to bug me now that it's just disappeared. The NX that they did release in the UK was this one, however. This was the 100 NX. And honestly, it pales in comparison to the glorious blocky nature of that Sportback wagon. Just absolutely amazing. So yeah, that's... well, I'm a little bit annoyed that the FreeCAD hasn't worked. Damn. Okay, well, at least I can... What I can... Ooh, excuse me. What I can show you, if I close this off and close that, and then I can pull FreeCAD back over here, because this will actually work in my favour now. Uh-oh. Because I should be able to just open the files up. So obviously the centre air vent is what we attempted to print. The centre floor is what I've modelled before in SketchUp, and it really it kind of worked for a given value, but it was never going to print properly because it won't give you a proper round circle. It will always be polygons, which is extremely annoying if you're doing it that way around. So I've remodeled it again just out of curiosity because I wanted to try and test. I started modelling the other one, realised I couldn't do two separate bodies, and then had to kind of backtrack and work out how I could make that work. And I really didn't know what I was doing. So I decided to start on another one and build it up gradually. So this piece, I started making this block across the bottom and then made this cutout that goes underneath it. So if I if I do, I guess we're going that way around. There we go. So I cut this one out. I made a mistake. That will have to do. So yes, so made this block and then cut this shape out, which worked. Kind of done that before, made the pocket. That all worked reasonably well. And then built sort of this wall up the front. Now I'm going to have to do that. So I built this wall up from it and essentially built out and across and up in different sections. So I'm not sure if it'll probably work the way I want it to. I would love to think it would, but I am a little bit doubtful, if I'm entirely honest. So hopefully we'll see if that one works. Chris has also made one of these though, and with a bit of luck his will actually work properly, rather than mine, which is a horrific mess. Let's see if I can... There we go. Yes, so you can see it has actually got all of its required voids. It's chamfered at the end the way this one was meant to be, so I might just try and remake that whole file for this section in the original design with the 30mm extrusion coming forwards, or just tip them. Because at the moment, the benefit with not having that this 30mm extension in is I can just put them flat to flat, so it can just sit on the back like that, and the curve that I need to get out of it, there is enough space to just do that in the tube. So that can just sit on and it will flex around quick enough that it will fit underneath the dashboard unit, the dashboard panels that sit on top. So I might just try remaking that one from scratch, knowing what I now know, because that one apparently imports into Cura perfectly fine. The other thing that I need to check is how big the bed is on a Cura 3. that
22.5.
22.5, is that your one?
Yeah. What size does it need to be?
Because this one... Oh, okay. Fine. Don't do what I wanted you to do. Close. Oh, that's why. Because this is 260, but practically speaking, this can be any length, because this sits in the middle of the dashboard so that we have a windscreen clearing vent, which we have to have because we have a windscreen, which is a little bit annoying, but for the IVA you basically have to have some means of defogging the windscreen, even though the windscreen is open to the elements. I haven't found where it specifically says that you cannot do that if you don't need it.
What's its other dimensions?
What, that way across there?
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
I mean, trick is export it to STL, drag it into Cura, and see if you can get it to auto-arrange it to fit.
Yeah, not a bad
Also,
idea.
diagonals.
Yes, diagonals exist. Across there is 158,
Yeah, we probably fit on
which
the head
should theoretically work, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, gallons, right?
Okay. Yeah. Right. Let's go on an adventure. Export as an STL. Dash vent body pocket. Yep. Do the. No, because you just. Oh. Okay. I only exported the pocket. That's not going to work. Dash vent body. Right. Cura. Yes, correct. Fluid Dynamics does indeed suggest that. However, I am counting on the fact that it is blasting across and that it will kind of flow around to make that work, because there is a pin that it has to get around in order to reach that where the wiring harness sits. So I can't actually make that cutback any better. I would have liked to have a much wider rake coming across so it was blowing all the way across evenly and not just going across and then having a little hole that comes down. But because most of the vents are going to be angled, if you imagine this is the windscreen here, and oh, that'll do. That is where the air vent is. It'll be coming in across from this side. Hang on, I can put this on top. It'll be coming in across this side, blowing into this side, and then most of the vents will actually be angled this way across, this way, so it will be blowing more air across to the driver's side of the windscreen anyway. So there'll be some on this side definitely blowing it back across this way, and because most of the air I think is going to be coming out of this side, the chances are it's going to come up and across, hit it and then spread out rather than just come out and go up. There will be louvers basically directing the air in a couple of different locations, and I'm counting on the fact that having about a third of them on the inlet side effectively on when I bring it back up, when I have a third of them on this side pointing onto the windscreen, probably still won't be enough to redirect all of the air across that way, so it will still hit the middle and then more of the air will blow across the other way, which I know isn't right. And what's better, if I'd actually learned any of the ANSYS software, I could have modelled that and I could check it, which would be a really interesting one. It would be much simpler than trying to do, oh, I don't know, literally anything else. Let's see. Okay, so dash vent body. Oh no, Cura seems pretty angry about that. How does one auto align in Cura?
I don't know. I just generally rotate stuff.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, I know it's definitely angry because it is hanging out off the edge at the moment.
Rotation.
How does?
Maybe not
Hang on. If I put this up here, you can actually see what I'm trying to do. It does make using the mouse an awful lot harder, though. Okay, rotate. No, don't do that.
Green. right click to move your camera, angle your camera around,
Yes.
and green.
And then what? Go back onto
Movement.
movement.
And just drag it up into there, along to the left a bit.
In this thread, we try to learn how to use Cura as well.
Rotate around.
I mean, you can definitely move further than that.
It's now playing about height, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So.
the issue you're going to have is strength in certain dimensions if they're printed weirdly.
Yeah. So, as I say, the fact
Rotate it
is
so it's
that
completely vertical. Rotate it so it's completely vertical, resting on the.
I'm just going to change it so that it fits. it's the easier, simpler option. I think. I definitely cannot do it with my head twisted round like that, though.
Print it so that it's two parts, and we literally glue that long post bit onto the side.
Yes, there is. I had also considered that as being an option. It felt like a cheaty, hacksy way to do it. I mean, it is already going to have to be printed in 2-3 pieces because the vents will be one piece, the lid for the other side will be one piece, but they are kind of much of a muchness. I've been looking at some complicated. Yeah, so I keep looking at the kit cars and looking at how they do it, and I think they just have like a token vent, and when you get to the IVA they go, it's open, doesn't need defogging. If it needs to be defogged, you're in fog. You have bigger problems. So yeah, so this is kind of a tokenistic thing. And if we ever do get into a position where we could close it up for whatever reason, be it a cover that sits snugly over the top for when it's parked up, so it's not going to get rained into, it wouldn't hurt to be able to demist it or just generally heat the cabin to some degree. If you're sitting somewhere in the cold, you don't just want to be sat with the floor vent and two little vents pointing at your face. It'd be nice to have a general cabin heating. Plus, if we went through lots of stuff and went, oh no, it'll be fine, I'm sure it'll be fine, you can guarantee that it'll be picked up upon, and then we'll be screwed. So let's put this back onto duplicating the displays. Keep that. Hopefully we still have... We do! Right. So this... So I need to change... No. I need to change that. So you said it was how big?
225.
225.
So
Okay.
if you make it 220, you leave you a bit of room at the edge of the bed.
Yeah, you can get it to 220.
I'm trying to work out whether or not I can get away with... Oh, I need the ruler. Or I need to mark between arbitrary points, which I don't think I can do.
So right underneath the thin bit's the wiring harness.
Well, the wiring harness runs all the way underneath, so I actually have another picture approximating how this is supposed to fit. So that was the original plan, which was to have it rolling around where the dashboard kind of tube is, the main steel brace between the A-pillars. So it would kind of locate onto there. And from memory, yeah, so the problem is to get around between this corner and this corner. I will go to this one instead. So to get between this point and this point, I think, based on my measurements, they can only be... Oh no, maybe it can be a little bit more. Maybe I was just being lazy. Yeah, I might actually be able to change that so it's not quite as terrible. And I want to say that without having actually gone and remeasured stuff on the car, but Whether or not that's the case, I don't know. I have a lot of scribbled notes here, and they all made perfect sense once upon a time. So that's, okay, yeah, that's right. So basically, underneath the main, I guess, plenum, underneath here, is the wiring harness basically runs across like that, and there is a pin here, and a pin, and the edge of the other piece of dashboard comes down. The piece that comes around the instrument cluster drops down, and it contacts there. So this is basically a maximum gap that I have to get through in order to make it past the pins that hold the wiring harness in, and that is essentially my biggest constraint. Now I'm trying to work out how I can, I wonder if I can just do, okay, that is not helpful. I just want to kind of hack in a reference plane. Okay, if I close, no, ignore that. What? Okay, basically I want to know how okay, my mouse is not having fun on the table all of a sudden. Let's get rid of all of these horrible errors. Right, so approximately speaking, the distance from there to, oh, you won't let me do that either. Right, cheers Ronald. We will hopefully do another one of these in a few weeks, when Chris will be back as well, and I can throw all of these problems at him and go, help me Chris, you are my only hope. Oh, that was the other thing. So on the bottom of this, you can see that the, when I get it right again, this doesn't have the same protrusion, the 50mm protrusion, as on the test one. So because the pipe doesn't actually connect directly onto this flange on the end, because we have a butterfly valve here. So this is our butterfly valve, which will open and close via a convenient Bowden tube, which we'll just be able to pull open. So this sits on, and this has a much smaller recess, so we don't need an adapter like this, which the heat exchanger has, when I can get it out of the bag left-handed. So the heat exchanger has four of these nozzles on, and fairly obviously these go onto the end like that, and then just clamp in place, and they actually screw on, which is quite nice. It's not something I'm going to be able to replicate, but that would normally screw onto there, and this has a little flange on the inside. So I've basically taken this flange and modelled it on so that it fits the same, and it should give me a reasonable little seal, and then the butterfly valve works like that, which is nice, assuming it works. So we have this, which I'm basically hoping that this will print as a solid, much the way it has done here, and we'll just be able to tap in with the regular screws that this uses, rather than having to locate anything and put a nut and a bolt on it. It should just be a nice friction fit with the coarse thread screws, because most of this stuff doesn't use machine threads. It just uses what is essentially a wood screw with the end nipped off, because it shouldn't be drilling any holes, it should just be cutting into plastic. So that is the plan for those, and that should do what I want it to do at that end. I just need to make sure that this is going to be the right size, which I don't know why I can't just measure. I don't know why I just can't. I'm sure I can, I just don't know how, because general ineptitude. I mean, just working my way around most of this is confusing enough. Let's see if I can measure across there. I can, but then it highlights it, so I can't actually. So that's 116mm laterally across there. So if I shorten it so it's 220 all inclusive, that should print kind of on a diagonal on the bed, and that should work. I think. And then it just needs the louvers printing that go in the front, but we can actually print the louvers later. We need this printed so that hopefully next time Chris is over, we can get this in and we can actually finish the dashboard, because when we finish the dashboard and check the wiring and done all of that horribly boring stuff, we can put the windows in. And if we can put the windows in and the windscreen in, oh, it will be an amazing day. I will be so pleased because A, I have a windscreen that is sat precariously near the model railway, actually, on end, and I would rather it was somewhere else, and I have not test fitted it into the car because I was going to say I know it's going to be exactly the same as the other one we tested with, but I don't know that it's going to be exactly the same. I just hope that tolerances are effective, and I'm sure there's going to be some little tweaks that we need to make to the frame, but I don't want to put it in and out and in and out loads and loads of times, because we will end up just chipping bits of glass off it like we did the other one, and the more we handle it, the more it gets broken, so we need to get some of the windscreen vulcanizing rubber to glue it in with. So hopefully that will be coming up soon as well in the next probably 3 or 4 episodes on the kit car, if all goes well. And as I said, that is a pretty big if, because we need to get a bunch of stuff in and tested, and part of that is the wiring, making sure that there's no failures in it, so we need to go through with a multimeter and poke it and prod it and make sure that it does everything we need it to, and that it hasn't got any massive shorts, which just working out how to establish that things we don't know should be connected aren't connected or are connected if they should be is going to be a nightmare. And I'm really not looking forward to it, which is why it didn't get done over the winter, because it is a miserable job and I didn't want to do it in miserable weather, and rightly so, nor did Chris. So we basically just kicked that can way, way down the road, and I am very, very pleased we did. So hopefully with some better weather, we'll get that sorted, and then we can actually start buttoning up a few more things, and we can start printing more bits of the dashboard, because basically I just want the internals done. And as I say, the wiring done around there, so we're not having to kind of reach in and around all of the glass, because we've tried to do a couple of bits with the pedals, and just trying to get into that now with the seats in and the floor in is a nightmare. It's actually going to be a ridiculous, when we end up putting the little printed brackets in for the brake switch and the clutch switch, we're probably going to have to take a piece of the floor off so that we can get underneath to get in under the dashboard, because it's so difficult to get into the dashboard hole, the dashboard footwells, without basically being upside down, leaning on sharp bits of metal. It's not fun. I don't like it, and I expect I'm going to have to do it anyway. So anything I can do to avoid that. And those 2 switches, we've been looking at those for probably 2 years now, going, we should definitely fit them. We should finish them. We should finish them. We should finish them. And we should have finished them before we got this far along, but we never did. They just kind of fell into the background. And now we're going to pay the price when we have to fight our way into the footwells on the floor with the car either lifted up in the air or something. The other option, I guess, is we could take the engine out, gearbox out, all of the suspension stuff off, remove all of that, put it on the spit again, put it on the rolly jig, and then flip it up. But I don't want to wait until I have to take the engine out again to do that. I don't want to take the engine out in order to install 2 switches in a footwell. It's just miserable. That would be the worst possible option I can think of. But if I physically cannot fit down underneath into the footwell, that might actually be the way that we end up having to do it, and I will hate every single second of doing that. There's a lot of other stuff that we could do at the same time, like we wouldn't end up doing it just for the sake of installing them. There's a few other bits we could do, but man, that would just be one of the most miserable days. As it stands, we need to take the fuel tank back out at some point. So if we can get the fuel tank out, we can replace the brake line, because we've had to change the hydraulic handbrake out for a manual cable-operated handbrake for the sake of the IVA. Hydraulic handbrake is not compatible with getting through an IVA unless you have an additional mechanical one. You might be able to. Yes, I mean, I would. We've tried to put Chris into the hole before Sparky in order to try and fit him down, and even he struggles to reach down into the footwell from where we're at with the car, with the seats in or with everything else, because there's just so much bodywork sitting around at the front. It's an absolute nightmare. This is why basically the windows haven't gone in. I really wanted them in before winter, just to try and keep some more of the water out. And we just didn't get it done. And at some point we're going to have to switch it so that we have the... we're going to have to put some sort of temporary roof on. Because I was in the other day, I was actually pulling... I think I was pulling this out. And it was quite a nice sunny day in between some rain. I thought, oh, I'll just run out, grab that, and then I can start measuring up all of this. And I just lifted one side of the cover that we have on it, went inside, and it was light in there because of all the tiny little pinholes that have gone through that tarp. So as soon as it gets a pool of water in, it just drains down into the car. So we're actually going to have to put some sort of temporary roof over that centre section. And I think what I'm going to use is the old banner backing that we used to have in here, where the TV currently is. We took the banner down. Obviously, we need to put some more stuff up because it's still a bit barren in here. But yeah, I still have those pieces of wood, and they will do perfectly temporarily just to build some kind of roof. Not roof, but panel that will sit over, and we can just try and arch it or something so that the water will run off, fall down the side of the car, and not pool in the seats and the floor and the dashboard and all of these other things. So yeah, it's another one of those. I want to do X, but I can't do X until I've done the 4 steps before that, and then I end up shaving a yak, and I never get around to doing what I actually wanted to do. Which is how a lot of this car has gone, as I'm sure our long-suffering, I was going to say long-standing viewers, long-suffering viewers and patrons probably agree. So, yes, that's why I kept it fixed. I have also tripped over that whilst I was trying to flatten it out in the rain. I decided I would use the rain to my advantage because it had been stood up and it had kind of curled and I needed it flat again. So I just left it out in the rain so that it would soften down, go down, and then it would dry out and it would be flat again because it's already done it twice. So what's a third time? And walking past it, I managed to just trip over it and go knees first and face down into the other piece of wood on the floor. So that was some top work by me. But yeah, that's kind of where we're up to. I need to apparently go through a lot more FreeCAD tutorials on YouTube, which is where I have been learning many of these things. This has definitely not just been me winging it and figuring stuff out on my own. I am not that clever. I've had to watch and rewatch many tutorials to go, no, but how did you do that? How did you do that? How did you do that? And yeah, getting into the mindset of it being kind of reductive rather than additive as far as the way it works. So in SketchUp, I would just build a frame and then just add bits and add bits and add a framework, and then it would become solid and it would just do the thing and it would kind of work. In this, I have to sort of start at a point and then build a block and then remove all of the stuff that I don't want. And then once I've got the rough outline of what I need, I then sometimes, like on this one actually, on the dash vent, this piece that runs across bridging the gap is a piece that I had to add in and then extrude out across and pad essentially till it met with the other side and then cut it back again so that it met in the right place. And I need to remember how you join the solids so they actually become the correct size. Temporarily I just clipped a couple of bits off with the pocket tool and just got rid of a couple, but yeah, I need to actually do it properly before this one gets printed, which again I'm not looking forward to. So this also needs a couple of flanges put on the side so that we can pop rivet it onto the aluminium, because this is going to be joined on permanently to the dashboard section. So when you lift the top of the dashboard off, you can then just disconnect the hose and this whole thing moves away. Having it so that this fixes in place and the aluminium panel locates into it is way too hard, and it will be too difficult to have that and then cover with some sort of material on the aluminium so that it fits nicely around it. which probably means actually I need to make that vent a little bit wider as well, because by the time that's filled, that's got material over it, and then it's fastened on, because I'm going to have to fasten it to the panel first, then put the foam on top of the dashboard so that it's slightly padded, and then put the material on. And that's going to be difficult. I'm really thinking more and more about chopping off the end, because if I chop that little trough off at the end, it will make life enormously simpler. And as White Knight points out, as Adrian, as he's listed in there, points out, it won't get a huge amount of airflow compared to the rest. The other half of it will still have higher pressure anyway. It will probably still work enough, and as I've said before, at this point we are kind of tokenistic in this because the car is open to the atmosphere, so the chances of there being a large temperature differential which would cause the misting and the condensation on the inside of the windscreen is fairly minimal. So yeah, yeah, I think I will just completely get rid of that, and then this will print nice and simple, because that makes my life easier, and it makes building it easier. It makes attaching the fabric to go over the top of it easier. Once we've got the fabric on, then we can design the louvers so that they just sit in and just clip in underneath, which will be a lot simpler to deal with. The lid is just going to glue onto that large box section anyway, so that's not a problem. It does just make life 1,000 times easier if I get rid of that bit at the end. So, what if I get rid of that and that, and then should we guess that it, oh no, 130, no, yeah, you see what I've done there is I've broken it. Where's my point join? I know that's going to get really, really angry if I do that. Can I just join them? No, definitely not. Okay, close enough. Can I get rid of that out of here? No, because it's in the top level, of course. And okay, that's going to make things, other bits, all kind of angry. Oh yeah, oh wow. Okay, this is going to take a little time. I'm not going to do this right now, because it might even be faster for me to just start from scratch, given I don't need to deal with that. There's a bunch of different ways I can actually make it. I can just use this as a reference. And yeah, that's going to cause me a headache. So I'm not going to inflict my headache on you whilst we do this. I am going to go back to one of the other things that I saw this week. Oh, that was what I was looking through. The craziest Japanese concepts ever. We can probably go through a few more of these. Oh, that one got made. That's just noodles. Wow, that looks like an XJ220 that went wrong. Hey, that kind of looks like what we've made. But better, you know? Wow, that's really disappointing that that's actually a lot kind of like what we were aiming for. Okay, if I say that this has all of the elements that we've put on our car, it has side intakes, as we do for the intercoolers. It has a roof scoop to feed the engine. It has two big bulbous arches on the side with the headlights mounted ahead of the wheels. It has a concave spoiler at the back, like a ducktail, same as ours. This is admittedly only a single seater, but apparently the people making this were insane. Oh. Yeah, that's... The engine was the 3.5 litre V12 Formula 1 engine. Which... that's... and it's based around the F1 tub. Like, that is absolutely insane.
See it? That's high profile.
Yeah.
See it?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it is just an F1 car with additional bodywork attached to it. That thing is mad. I would have absolutely loved to have seen one of those. The engine repair, the $800,000. Okay, $800,000. Can anyone remember when Yamaha made a 3.5 litre V12 engine for Formula 1? Because I can't. Let's see what Google says. The Ferrari, the Lamborghini.
How long ago was that then?
Lamborghini.
Well, it's not.
Okay, 3.5 litre is the 90s.
Yeah.
Because that was Minardi
V10s
had one.
came in late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Well, 92 Minardi.
Yes, yeah, 92
So
minutes.
It's early 90s, late 80s.
So that is, yes.
It's post-turbo.
So I'd say,
Before they started cutting fuel cylinders off.
yeah, so I'd say based on the look of it, I would say that is late 90s. If you think the XJ220
Yeah.
was that kind of era, the McLaren F1 is that kind of look. They're both 90s. They're 92 and 93.
You can see
And-
the inspiration.
Yeah, definitely. I love the spoiler across the front between the things. That's come in on a few things now. The
Yes, go ahead.
no, the Dodge, the new electric Hellcat has it. Yeah, because they don't need a tall bonnet to fit the engine in. It has an opening where the grille is, and it just goes straight through and scoops up, and then it still has the original top line, top sort of body line between the headlights, but the grille is now just open, is a massive scoop that goes all the way through up onto the thing. I'm sure it's the electric, what is effectively the electric Hellcat. But yeah, I really like that. I bet. So if we assume that's, let's give it the benefit of the doubt and say that that's 1995, mid-90s, and $800,000. The Jaguar, the XJ220, from memory, was something like 350 at that point. So you're talking about that being 2.5 times the cost of an XJ220 in the mid-90s. Yeah, that really would have been pretty wild. God damn. Yes, absolutely would have. And this also popped up in a couple of groups, and I love every single thing about this. I don't love it £12,000, which is what they're asking, or $12,000, which is what they're asking for it. But this is a smart car that's been basically butchered into looking like a Lamborghini, and I love everything about it, except the price, because the price is horrendous. But yeah, so that is pretty much our stream for today. We have done a little bit of CAD and discovered that I am definitely not design on a budget versus designers with no budget. Yeah, pretty much. But I am quite pleased at the similarities between the two. Like that has actually come out really quite nicely. So yes, the Lamborghini Moose Knuckle. Yes, sure. You're not entirely wrong. But yeah, I think that is probably a pretty reasonable place to wrap this stream up. Hopefully next time when Chris is here again, we will have some more CAD for you, and that CAD will be competent. We might have some new prints for you, which have also been made in a competent style rather than the STL coming out wildly different than the file name. I'm going to go and play around in FreeCAD for the rest of tonight and see what I can make out of that. So yes, thanks everybody for joining us and joining in the chat. It has been an entertaining evening. We actually probably going to wrap this up fairly quickly. So all that remains, if you haven't already, head over to shop.pedalbox.show where you can see some t-shirts like one I am actually wearing for a change, which is amazing. Or you can support us as a patron at patreon.com/pedalboxshow. And obviously, if somehow you've ended up here, but you aren't subscribed already, how? I'd be really, really intrigued to hear how that happened in the chat. You don't tune in for competency. Yeah, sure. You're not wrong. that is part of the fun of Stress CAD. Yay! Yeah, if you like the video, that will also help us. If you haven't already, just jump on and like a couple of the other videos. Obviously, we put a Thunderbird video up yesterday where we put the rest of the bodywork on. All of those patch panels that I brought back better part of 2 years ago now from the States, they're all here. So they are now attached onto the car and it is basically done. I say it's basically done. What I mean is it's welded in. It obviously hasn't been painted yet. So there are a couple of little bits we need to clean up on that, but we'll get around to that in due course. Hopefully, as I say, next time Chris is over, that will be on and we'll start getting down. And I will hopefully get a rabble of my friends around with sanders and we can just sit and attack the paint and get it as far back as possible. So yeah, that will be an extremely boring, probably 2 days of just sanding, priming, sanding, priming. Most of the bodywork is pretty straight on it though. We're not going to have to take out too many chunks of filler at this point, I hope. In terms of the interior is looking pretty good as well. And I need to get the starter relay, on order, so that we can fit that back in, because one of the terminals broke off when we were trying to do stuff with it. So, all that remains, thanks very much for watching everybody, and we will see you next time. Make sure you've subscribed, liked some videos, go back and like some other ones, it'd be really helpful if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Ta-ra.